Hello friends, I hope you are all doing good. This is a video which I am making to discuss about the amendments which is applicable to your examination. So by end of this video, you are going to learn what are the different amendments which are applicable for May or June 2021 examination. This video is for everyone, whether it is a CA student, CS student or CMA student, and whether you are an inter student or final students. So let us straight away start discussion on this. Sir, before that, let me tell you, if you have watched my crash course videos, now in crash course videos, those videos are amended videos only. If you have watched it, you don't have to watch this particular thing again. But if you want to feel, sir, no sir, I want to watch the amendments separately, I want to see what are the different amendments which have been made under GST separately, though I have seen your crash course video, I want to see it again, sir, then definitely you can please go through this amendment video, because in this video we are specifically discussing about the amendments only. Which are the topic and what is the amendment, which are the topic and what is the amendments. So there are two major amendments which I feel, two or three major amendments. All other amendments are very general amendments, so which are easy to understand. Also there is nothing much to discuss about those things, but there are 2 to 3 amendments which are very important and on which questions can also be asked in the examination. Now before starting the discussion on this amendment, there were a few questions asked about the videos with regard to input tax credit, exemptions, etc., which I told will be available on my mobile app, the crash course videos. So I'll just show that, because so students had asked me where it is available. Sir, can you please show us? Definitely, I'll just do one thing. I'll screen record this, and I'll just, so you will have to open the mobile application. Once you open the mobile application, you will have to go to that stores columns. Once you go to the stores columns, you can scroll down and search, or you can directly search by name. You will have to search what, sir? You will have to search something called as, if you write crash, you will get that crash course, etc. So you will get something. Okay, I hope this is visible on your screen also. So you click on that. In that, first there is an overview column. Just swipe it. Once you swipe it, you will get the videos. You will get the videos. Sir, but it says that we are required to pay 1 rupees for this. No. Actually, I cannot create a course unless until there is some amount specified. So I have written 1 rupees over there. But the videos are available for free. You can just scroll down and watch all those videos, exemptions videos, all the complete videos are there, place of supply, etc., input tax credit and demand and recovery. So these videos are available over here. So anyone who wants to watch these videos and who had asked questions about this, so you can please carry on in this manner. Okay, now this was about the question which was asked about the crash course videos, which was not uploaded on YouTube, something which is available on my mobile application. Now without wasting our time, let us straight away start our discussion with the beautiful amendments which are made under GST, which is applicable for your examination. Which is applicable for which examination, sir? Those who are writing the examination in which attempt? May or June 2021 attempt. May or June 2021 attempt. Please note, it is applicable for everyone, whether you are a CA student or a CMA student, whether you are an inter or final student. For all of you, these amendments will be applicable. Obviously, there are some topics which may not be applicable to you. Please ignore those topics. Okay. First amendment is with regard to this topic, first chapter, GST introduction and overview. They have changed the definition of union territory. They have made an amendment, chota sa amendment with regard to definition of union territory. Now, in India, generally if I ask you how many union territories are there, you will tell me, sir, there are totally 7 union territories, correct? Generally if I ask you, will tell 7 union territories. This is what you have learned from long back. Sir, which are these, sir? Delhi is an union territory. Sir, Puducherry is an union territory. Sir, Andaman Nicobar. Sir, Daman and Diu. Sir, Dadar and Nagar Haveli. Sir, Chhattisgarh and Lakshadweep. So these are the different union territories. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are the different union territories which are there under. Just a second, I think I have to stop this video. Yeah. So these are the different union territories which are there in India. This is what we all know from the beginning in the sense from the childhood, when we are studied about these things in our civics chapter, etc., in our history, social science chapter. Now what they have done, this union territory scope has been expanded. They have added 2 more items. Now before we had a state called as Jammu and Kashmir. Before, sir, we don't have that state now, sir. Now also Jammu and Kashmir is there, but Jammu and Kashmir has been divided into 2 union territories. One is Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir and another one is Union Territory of Ladakh. Union Territory of Ladakh. So Jammu and Kashmir is an state which was there. That state is now divided into two union territories, that is Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir and Union Territory of Ladakh. Apart from that, this Diu, Daman and Dadar Nagar Haveli, they have been merged as one union territory. Before, Diu, Daman and Dadar Nagar Haveli were treated as separate union territory, but they have been merged. They have been merged under GST. They have been merged as one single union territory. Jammu and Kashmir demerged. Diu, Daman and Dadar Nagar Haveli merger has happened. So now, if I ask you how many union territories are there? Now, if I ask you how many union territories are there in India, sir, then what will you tell? Sir, Delhi is there, sir. Correct. Sir, Puducherry is there, sir. Correct. Sir, Jammu and Kashmir also is there, sir. Correct. Jammu and Kashmir is also there, sir. Yes, correct. Sir, Diu, Daman and Dadar Nagar Haveli is there, sir. Yes, that is also there. Then, sir, Ladakh is there, sir. Yes, perfect. Ladakh is also there. Sir, Chhattisgarh. Yes, sir. Sorry, not Chhattisgarh. Chandigarh, sir. Yes, sir. Chandigarh. Then, sir, Andaman and Nicobar, sir. Yes, Andaman, Nicobar. And then lastly, we have what? Lakshadweep Islands. Lakshadweep Islands also. These are the different union territories which are there. These are the different union territories which we have now in India. Now, these are the union territories from India angle. If you see from GST angle, only these 5 places are treated as union territory. From GST angle, under GST, these 5 places are treated as union territory. These 3 places, Union Territory of Delhi, Jammu and Kashmir and Puducherry, are treated as state for the purpose of GST. Please note, it is only for the purpose of GST they are treated as state. Normally it is union territory only. It is union territory only. But the definition, there is a definition which is given for state under GST. The definition of state under GST says state includes union territory with separate legislature. Sir, what do you mean by this, sir? This means normally union territory cannot make their own government, but there are some union territory which can have their own government. For example, Delhi is a union territory, no? Yes, sir. Union territory should not have a government, no? Yes, sir. But Delhi AAP government is there. Arvind Kejriwal is the chief minister. So there are 3 union territories, which is Delhi, Puducherry and Jammu and Kashmir. These 3 union territories can have their own legislature. These 3 union territories can make their own government. So these 3 union territories which can have their own legislation, which can make their own government, are called as state. For the purpose of GST, they are treated as state. Sir, what do you mean by this? It simply means that whenever you are making an intrastate supply in these particular places, whenever you are making an intrastate supply, whenever you are making a supply within that particular union territory, whether it is Delhi, Puducherry or Jammu and Kashmir, that transaction you are required to pay a tax called as CGST and SGST. You are required to make the payment of tax called as CGST and SGST. This is the tax which is required to be charged by you. Sir, oh sir, what about these other union territories, sir, which are not regarded as state for the purpose of GST? For all these other union territories, whenever there is a transaction of intra-state supply or intra-union territory supply, you are required to pay a tax called as CGST and UTGST. CGST and UTGST is required to be paid. CGST and UTGST is required to be paid. Now, what is important for us to understand, that there is one union territory, that is Diu, Daman and Dadar Nagar Haveli. They are merged and they have become one union territory. So, if I make a supply from Diu, Daman to Dadar Nagar Haveli, it will not be treated as an interstate supply. It will be treated as intrastate supply, and I will have to pay a tax of CGST and UTGST. It will be treated as an intrastate supply or intra-union territory supply, and I will have to pay a tax called as CGST and UTGST. And now Jammu and Kashmir has been demerged into what? Jammu Kashmir Union Territory and Ladakh Union Territory, correct? So whenever a supply, now if I am making a supply from Jammu and Kashmir to Ladakh, now if I make a supply from Jammu and Kashmir to Ladakh, this will be treated as an interstate supply. If it is treated as an interstate supply, I am going to levy something called as IGST. I am going to levy something called as IGST. Now I've just, now see this Jammu and Kashmir, which was there earlier, this has been demerged like this. So now we have two parts. Is it visible? Yeah. Just a second. So this Jammu and Kashmir, which is there, this has been demerged. See, Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir, they have separated it, and this Diu, Daman and Dadar Nagar Haveli, which is there, no, they have been merged into one single union territory. They were separate, now it is merged. Jammu and Kashmir, which was one, now it is separated. So there is a small change in the definition of union territory. What is that union territory definition telling? I'll read it for you. What is the amendment? Section 2, clause 114, defining union territory. That is, union territory means Andaman Nicobar Islands, Lakshadweep Island, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Daman and Diu, Chandigarh and other territories were treated as union territory for the purpose of GST. Now, please note this definition is from which act? CGST Act, okay? This definition is from CGST Act. Sir, Delhi is not there only, no sir. Oh sir, the Jammu and Kashmir is not there only, no sir. Sir, Puducherry is not there only, no sir. They are also union territory, no, correct. But this is as per GST law. GST law, what I told you, in GST law, these three particular places are treated as state. These three places will be treated as state, which Delhi, Puducherry and Jammu and Kashmir. Now, so now this definition has been amended. Post amendment, what is the definition, sir? See that blue color, whatever I have written, no, that is the amended portion. Section 2, clause 114, defining union territory means the territory of Lakshadweep, Andaman Nicobar, Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Ladakh, Chandigarh and other territories. So Ladakh is the new entry over here, and Dadra and Nagar Haveli has been merged into one particular union territory. So what is the conclusion? Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Diu Daman has been merged into one single union territory. The state of Jammu and Kashmir has been now bifurcated or demerged into two union territories. One is union territory of Jammu and Kashmir and union territory of Ladakh, where the Jammu and Kashmir is an union territory with separate legislation, so it is treated as state for the purpose of GST, and Ladakh, it is an union territory without separate legislation, it is not treated as state for the purpose of GST. Now, next amendment in supply chapter. In supply chapter, there is something called as Schedule 2. In your supply chapter, there is something called as what, sir? Schedule 2. What is this Schedule 2? Section 7, subsection 1, capital A says, Section 7, 1, capital A says, there are few items which are specified in Schedule 2. These items are supply as per Section 7, subsection 1. But I am going to tell you whether it is supply of goods or supply of services. So there were different activities which are treated as supply of goods and which are required to be treated as supply of services. One such activity was the goods forming part of business assets are transferred. Please note, this is before amendment. The goods which are forming part of business assets are transferred or disposed of by or under the direction of the person who is carrying on the business, so as no longer to form part of those assets, whether or not for a consideration, such transfer or disposal of goods shall be treated as supply of goods. Now, any goods which are forming part of the business, it is transferred by the owner, whether it is for a consideration or not for a consideration, it was treated as supply of goods. It was treated as what, sir? Supply of goods. Now they have done one thing over here. They have removed this word, whether for consideration or not. Whether for consideration or not, this particular word which is there, that they have removed. Nothing, no changes have been done anything apart from this. Now just that one single word which was there, whether for consideration or not, that word has been removed. Now this particular word was causing a lot of ambiguity. What's our ambiguity? See, there is section 7.1 also, and section 7.1a and section 7.1c. 7.1a was talking about transaction which will be treated as supply as when there are 5 elements. It should be of goods and services, supply with consideration, in short. And 7.1c was talking about activities which shall be treated as supply if there is no consideration. If there is no consideration. Now, because of this particular point, no, consideration should be there, consideration should not be there, etc. It was causing an ambiguity, so they have removed this particular point only. Now, if there is any goods which is forming part of business asset and you are transferring that goods, the owner of the business is transferring some goods. Say for example, I am the owner of Priya Sarees and I have sari. I am just giving the sari to someone, whether it is for a consideration or not for consideration, that will be treated as supply. That will be, the transaction will be treated as supply. Now saris are coming in a box. Those boxes are of no use to me. Now this box are thrown away by me, disposed of by me. That will be treated as supply, whether it is for a consideration or not for a consideration. Similarly, there was one more point that there also they have made this similar changer, where by or under the direction of a person carrying on the business, the goods held or used for the purpose of business are put to any private use. Your business goods are used for private purpose, or are used or made available to any person for use for any purpose other than the purpose of business, or I am giving it to anyone for any purpose other than business purpose, whether such giving by me is for a consideration or not, it shall be treated as supply, and it shall be treated as what? Supply of services. For example, I have my business car. I have a car in my business which I am using for my personal purpose, My business laptop I am using for my personal purpose. Normally, what the laptop which is there, it is used by me for my business purpose only. But whenever I come home, my daughter is playing games in that laptop. Now she is paying game. Now whether she is paying some money to me or not, it shall be treated as supply of services. Now I have a Rolls-Royce car in my business. Now one of my employees says, sir, I am getting married, sir, I want to enter into my marriage halls in Rolls-Royce car, sir, can you please give me this Rolls-Royce car for one day? I said, okay, take this Rolls-Royce car for one day. I charge 1 lakh rupees from him. Supply. If I don't charge anything from him, then also it is treated as supply, and it is treated as supply of services. Sir, the question was never about whether it is treated as supply or not. Now what they have done, this with consideration or without consideration, whether for consideration or not, this particular words they have removed. Whether or not for a consideration, the word they have removed. That is the only change they have done over here. Why, sir? Conclusion. The words whether for consideration or not in para 4 of schedule 2 were creating ambiguity, hence omitted from Finance Act 2020 with retrospective effect, and this amendment is retrospective from 1st July 2017. You should read it as if this point was never there, Anyway, small amendment. This is a beautiful amendment, very important amendment. This amendment which we are going to learn now, it is very, very important amendment. I'll explain this amendment. If you remember, there is something called as section 9 subsection 3. Sir, what is this section 9 subsection 3? Section 9 subsection 3 is talking about different activities. Section 9 subsection 3 says the government may notify few goods, the government may notify few services, the tax on which is required to be paid by the recipient under reverse charge. The government is going to notify some goods and services, the tax on which is required to be paid by the recipient under reverse charge. Now, one of the services which was taxable under reverse charge, is the services supplied by the director of a company or a body corporate to the said company or a body corporate. Now reverse charge provision says what? If the director of a company is giving services to the company. If the director of the company is giving services to the company or the body corporate who is located in taxable territory has to make the payment of taxes under reverse charge. These are taxable under reverse charge. Sir, what is the difference between reverse charge and forward charge, sir? In case of forward charge, what happened? The supplier, the person who is making the supply of goods and services, has to make the payment of taxes to the government. In case of reverse charge, the recipient of goods and services has to make the payment of taxes to the government. Sir. Again, sir, repeat, sir. For example, you come to Priya Saris. Okay. I supply you a sari of 1 lakh rupees. I take from you 1 lakh plus GST of 10%, 10,000 rupees GST. I will take 1 lakh 10,000 from you. This 10,000 GST component which is there, no? I have supplied the sari to you. Yes, sir. I am treated as supplier. You are treated as recipient. This 10,000 which I have collected, I should make the payment of taxes to the government. This is forward charge. This happens in a forward charge. What happens? The person who is making the supply of goods and services is the person who is making the payment of taxes to the government. Sir, what happens in case of reverse charge? The recipient. I am selling the sari to you. You are required to make the payment of taxes to the government. The recipient has to make the payment of taxes to the government in case of reverse charge. Now, one such reverse charge item was services which is given by a director of a company. Director of a company is giving services to the company. In such case, reverse charge provision will apply. Now, sir, is reverse charge applicable in all the different cases? No. Sir, there are different types of directors. No, sir. I know. So say for example, director of a company can be of two types. This is an important amendment. This is an important amendment. One director can be an employee director. Another type of director can be a non-employee director. Employee director, non-employee director. Now, if you are an employee director, then any services given by employee to employer in the course of employment, is not a supply. Who is telling? Sir, schedule 3 is telling, sir. Schedule 3, supply chapter, section 7, subsection 2, read with schedule 3 says, if any services is given by employee to the employer in the course of employment, that is not treated as supply. But if you are a non-employee director, see, if it is not treated as a supply, then the question of GST only will not come, correct? Yes, sir. If you are a non-employee director, then whatever services are given by you to the company is on principal to principal basis or on contract basis, individual basis. It is not because you are an employee. It is not due to the course of employment. So here GST will be applicable. In this case, GST will be applicable. Now, they have given two beautiful clarification. Understand this point carefully. There is a company called as Jio. Jio is a company, Reliance Jio is a company wherein there are totally 3 directors. There are totally how many directors? Please understand. Okay, I will do one thing. Write in another way. There is a company called as Reliance Jio. This Jio has 3 directors. Jio has 3 directors. One of the director is Akash Ambani. Another director is Isha Ambani, and the third director is Dilip. I am the third director of this company. Akash Ambani, who is there? No, Akash is whole-time director. Akash is the whole-time director of the company. Isha is the managing director of the company, and I am the independent director of the company. So this particular company, which company Jio, has totally 3 directors. One is Akash, one is Isha, and the another one is Dilip. Now Akash is the whole-time director, Isha is managing director, and Dilip is independent director. Now Akash being the whole-time director, he is treated as the employee of this company. He is in, sir, employee means what, sir? A person who is involved in the day-to-day business activity. Employee means there should be a contract of employment plus a person. Whole-time director means what, sir? A director who is involved in the day-to-day activities of the company. So Akash is the employee director of this company. He is the employee director of this company. Isha is not involved in day-to-day activities. She is not involved in day-to-day activities. Only when some managerial decisions are required to be taken, she comes, she gives that particular decision. So she is a non-employee director. Why, sir, she is a non-employee director? She is not worried about the day-to-day business activities. Day-to-day business activities Akash is taking care of. Isha goes only whenever there is a managerial decision is required to be made. Then we have Mr. Dilip, who is the independent director. Whenever a board meeting is held, as per the company law, you know that independent director is required to be appointed. So they have appointed me as the independent director. Whenever there is some board meeting, etc., they are going to call me, and I am going to attend that particular meeting, and whatever decisions we are required to take, we will take over here. So I am also an non-employee of this particular company. Please note, we are all directors, but Akash is the employee, other 2 people are non-employee. Now, because we go to the meetings, we get something called as sitting fees. I get sitting fees, Isha gets sitting fees, etc. On this amount, RCM provisions will apply. Meaning what, sir? Section 9 subsection 3 which is there, no, is applicable in these cases. When you are a non-employee director, then RCM provision is applicable to you. When you are a non-employee director, if you are not an employee of the company, if you are not an employee, then the services given by you to the company is not in the course of employment. If it is not in the course of employment, then GST is applicable. If GST is applicable, who has to pay GST? Section 9 subsection 3 is telling the recipient. Who is the recipient? Company is the recipient. We are giving the services to the company. Company is the recipient. The recipient has to make the payment of taxes to the government. Now, this was anyways very clear to you all, very clear to everyone. Now, what they have done over here is they have told, say this Akash, when I was checking, they have told, when I checked the profit and loss accounts of this company, I saw that Akash is getting two different amount. Akash is getting something called as salary, and he is getting some fees or some amount, say consultancy charges, etc. He is getting salary. Along with his salary is also getting what? This particular fees or amount, etc., etc. Now, see, for salary, as per income tax law, where will I deduct TDS? I deduct TDS under section 192, and for other fees, they are telling they used to deduct the TDS under contract fees or 194J, etc. That is professional charges, etc. Now, they are telling, Akash, you are getting two types of amount. No? Yes, I am getting two types of amount. What are these two types of amount? One type of amount which is there is in the form of salary, that is for the services which is given by me, that is the employee to the employer in the course of employment, for which they are paying me salary. On this there is no GST applicable. Why, sir? Because it is not a supply. Now, because it is not a supply, no GST is applicable. No GST is applicable. Why? It is covered under schedule number 3. Schedule number 3. But Akash is also getting some other amount called as fees, some other amount called as consultancy charges or professional charges, and the company is paying this amount to him and deducting the TDS under 194J. It is deducting the TDS under 194J. For this amount, GST will be applicable. The company has to pay the taxes under reverse charge mechanism. The company will have to pay the taxes under reverse charge mechanism. For which amount? For the other fees, etc., which you are telling. In simple words, if you are paying any amount to the employee director, and if TDS is deducted under 192, then it is a salary, therefore no GST. If it is under any other section of income tax law, that is TDS provisions, etc., then the RCM provisions will apply. RCM provisions will apply. So this is all about this amendment which is there. Now, what is this amendment telling? Okay, the issue. What was the issue? Remuneration paid by the company to its directors who are not employees of the company, that is non-executive directors or independent directors, etc. It is in the nature of the service. It is not in the nature of services by employee to the employer in the course of employment. Therefore, it is outside the ambit of Schedule 3. Because it is not in the course of employment, it is outside the purview of what, sir? Schedule 3. These are covered under section 9 subsection 3. Therefore, RCM is applicable. RCM is applicable. The person liable to pay the taxes is the company under reverse charge. Second point, remuneration paid by the company to the directors who are employees of the company, that is executive directors or whole-time directors. If you are paying it to any employee, then these are in the nature of the services provided by the employee to the employer in the course of employment, and they are covered under Schedule 3. Since they are covered under Schedule 3, it is not a supply and therefore no GST. Then remuneration paid to the directors which are declared separately in the company accounts, books of accounts, separately or disclosing under as other than salary, and you are deducting TDS under 194J. And if any other amount, your remuneration you are paying to your director, and you are disclosing the same amount in 194J, you are not disclosing it in your salary head, and you are deducting the TDS under 194J. Since these are the remuneration other than salary paid to directors, the same shall be outside the ambit of Schedule 3, and the company has to pay the taxes under reverse charge mechanism. The company will have to make the payment of taxes under reverse charge mechanism. So this is one more amendment which is made. This is one more amendment which is made. Just a second, I'll turn on the fan and we'll continue. Okay, so let us continue now. Next exemption is next amendment is in this chapter, which is Exemptions Chapter. Very simple, I mean, amendment. I mean, we cannot tell that it is a huge amendment, etc. Now you would have studied 2 points. Which points are? In case whenever you are transporting any goods outside India, what is it that termed as export, correct? Now if you are exporting, you can either export the goods in an aeroplane or an ship. That is you can either export it through a vessel or an aircraft. So if you are exporting it through a vessel or an aircraft, the transportation charges are required to be paid by you, correct? For transporting in an aircraft or transporting in a vessel, you are required to pay something called as transportation charges. On this transportation charges, GST is not applicable. On this transportation charges, GST is not applicable. It was exempt. It was covered under exemption topic. It was covered under exemption topic. Now the exemption was available only till 30th of September 2020. It was available only till 30th September 2020. Now that amendment which was applicable till 30th September 2020 has been further extended from 30th September 2020 to 30th September 2021. 1 more year extension they have given for this amendment. So there is no, I mean, there is no change. Whatever is there in the whatever you used to study, that you are required to study again. The same point is there. Only thing is what, this exemption which was available till 30th September 2020 has now been available, is now available till 30th September 2021. Which exemptions are? Services by way of transportation of goods by an aircraft from customs station of clearance in India to a place outside India, or services by way of transportation of goods by a vessel from customs station of clearance in India to a place outside India. This exemption is available till which date, sir? This exemption is available till 30th of September 2021. 30th of September 2021. And they have also added a new entry in our exemption scheme. They have added a new entry in our exemption. What is that exemption, sir? Satellite launch services. Which service, sir? Satellite launcher. Yes. Satellite launch services supplied by whom? ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, or Antriksh Corporation Limited, or New Space India Limited, or New Space India Limited. Now, if you remember, in our place of supply chapter, we used to discuss one point which we will no more discuss because of this amendment. What, sir? Now if there is a rocket which is launched, okay, if there is a rocket which is launched, normally, for example, ISRO is launching a rocket. ISRO is, or Antriksh Corporation Limited or New Space India Limited is launching a rocket. Now this rocket is a movable thing. Because it is a movable thing, it was treated as goods. Because it is treated as goods, because it was launched from India, it is going somewhere. It is going somewhere. Where it is going, we don't know. It is going on the space, correct? It is going on the space. This transaction was treated as, this particular transaction was treated as supply under GST and was taxable also. Sir, what tax was I supposed to pay? The nature of this supply was an interstate supply and I was supposed to pay IGST. I was required to pay IGST. In place of supply, there was a clarification given with regard to this point, correct? Now they are telling, if you are launching, hey ISRO, if you are launching a satellite, hey Antriksh Corporation Limited, if you are launching a satellite, hey New Space India Limited, if you are launching a satellite, we want you to launch. We want you to launch satellites so that it will promote our India, it will help India to grow in an aerospace field also, etc. So they are telling, if you are launching anything, we will not charge any GST from you. If you are launching any satellite, etc., we are not going to charge any GST from you. So satellite launch services given by whom? ISRO or Antriksh Corporation Limited or New Space India Limited has now been exempted. These are the only 3 points which are there in exemption chapter. Not a major amendment. Now, one more major amendment which is there is made in this chapter. Which chapter, sir? Registration chapter. Now, what was the procedure for registration? I'll explain you first by writing. Then I'll come to the point where the exemption has been made. Now, what was the registration process? Sir, I should fill an application called as REG 01, form GST REG01, sir. This form GST REG01 has two parts, correct? Part A and Part B. In Part A, I give basic details, which state I am taking registration, what type of registration I am taking, then what is my mobile number, what is my email ID, PAN number, name as per PAN, legal name as per PAN, then mobile number and email ID I give, where OTP is sent, OTP is sent. Once I enter that OTP which is sent on mobile number and email ID, I will get something called as temporary reference number. Oh sir, temporary reference number. Yes, the temporary reference number. You are going to get temporary reference number. Now, what does this mean? Once you get this temporary reference number, what does it mean? Meaning you have a period of 15 days time to fill your Part B. You have 15 days period of time to fill your Part B. Now I fill Part B. It is Part B where I actually give the details. What details I give? I give the name of the company, what is my trade name, what is my legal name, etc. and what is my address, what are the different types of goods and services which I am dealing in, who is the director of the company, who is the authorized signatory, who is the owner, etc. All these details are normally given where? It is given in Part B. Now here, once you give these details in Part B, after that what used to happen? I used to submit this application. Once I submit this application, the application used to go to the proper officer. Once the application is submitted, I used to get something called as acknowledgement reference number, ARN number I used to get. Once this application is submitted, I get what? ARN number or acknowledgement reference number. Once I get this acknowledgement reference number means what? From my side, my job is done. The application has been submitted by me. Proper officer is required to do his work now. Now proper officer has 3 days time. He has how many days time? 3 days time, 3 working days time for either approving the registration or asking for any clarification, or he can seek any clarification. Within 3 working days, he should tell, okay, he is satisfied with whatever documents I have submitted, he will approve the registration. Within 3 working days, he should approve. If he is not satisfied, then he can ask some clarification. Hey, Mr. Dilip, you have uploaded this rental agreement. No, I am not understanding this. Can you please also upload electricity bill? Can you please, whatever clarification he wants to ask, he'll ask for clarification. So he will send a clarification notice. For clarification purpose, what will he do? He'll send a show cause notice. Now once he sends a show cause notice, I being the applicant, I have 7 working days to reply to that show cause notice. Once I reply to the show cause notice, the officer has 7 working days to what, sir? To either approve or reject the application. This is the procedure which was followed by us. Approve or reject the application. Sir, what if they don't approve within 7 working days in case of show cause notice and within 3 working days in normal cases, sir? If they are not approving within or rejecting or giving a show cause notice within that particular time limit of 3 working days or 7 working days, then it was treated as deemed registration. It was treated as deemed registration. Now what they have done is, now this application which is there, once you submit the application, right after that you are going to do something called as Aadhaar Authentication. Now here the procedure is same. The procedure is same. Only one extra thing has been added. What is that extra thing which has been added, sir? The extra thing which has been added is Aadhaar Authentication. Meaning what? Whatever your application you are submitting, will be treated as accepted, or it will be treated as submitted only when this application will be treated as submitted only when you are doing this Aadhaar authentication. Meaning there are 2 options again. A person can opt for Aadhaar authentication or he may not opt for Aadhaar authentication. If you are opting for Aadhaar authentication, what will happen? If I am opting for Aadhaar authentication, say for example, once I submit this application, I will get an email on my or my mobile number also. I'll get on my email ID and mobile number and hyperlink. I'll get some link. I have to click on that link. Once I click on that link is telling me to do Aadhaar authentication. What will it ask you, sir? It will ask you what is your Aadhaar number. Simple, nothing else. Ask you only Aadhaar number they'll ask, not even mobile number. You enter your Aadhaar number. Once you enter your Aadhaar number, whatever mobile number is linked to your Aadhaar, whatever mobile number, see in your Aadhaar also you are required to give a mobile number. So whatever mobile number is linked to your Aadhaar, on that mobile number an OTP will be sent. An OTP will be sent. Once this OTP is sent, and you just put that OTP and click on verify. Once you click on verify, then only it will be said that the registration application has been submitted by you. Then only it will be treated that this GST REG01, the registration application has been submitted by you. Sir, if I don't do Aadhaar authentication, that means the registration application is not submitted. No, not always. Now what they are telling, two cases are possible. A person may opt for Aadhaar authentication, he may not opt for Aadhaar authentication. If a person is doing Aadhaar authentication, say for example, I have given all the details and I have filled all the details, whatever details are required to be filled, I filled it by 15th of March 2021. After filling the details, on the same day they will send that hyperlink. For doing that Aadhaar authentication, they'll send that link. Now once they send this link, I have to do Aadhaar authentication. Assuming I did Aadhaar authentication on 17th of March 2021, this application will be treated as submitted on that date. On the date when I am doing Aadhaar authentication, on that date it will be treated as the application has been submitted. On that date it will be treated as application has been submitted. Sir, what if I do this Aadhaar authentication on the same day? That means application is submitted on 15th of March only. So on the date when you are doing this Aadhaar authentication, on that date it will be deemed that the application has been submitted by you. On that date it will be deemed that application has been submitted by you. This is only for those people who are opting for Aadhaar authentication, Sir, this link has been sent to you, sent to me, but I am not doing any authentication, sir. Then what will happen? Sir, I have opted for Aadhaar authentication, but link has also been sent to me, but I am not doing Aadhaar verification. Maybe my mobile number is not verified, etc. For some reason I am not doing. Then what will happen? Then normally what will happen? Normally the date when Aadhaar authentication is done, that date application will be treated as submitted, and from that date this procedure of 3 days, 7 days, etc. will start. 3 working days, 7 working days will start. Now what if I don't do Aadhaar authentication? I don't opt for Aadhaar authentication. They will wait for 15 days. From the date you are submitting till 15 days will wait. After 15 days, whatever date is coming. Say in our case, 15th of March I have filled everything and I have submitted that application. From this date I have not done any Aadhaar authentication, I have submitted the application. From this date they'll add 15 more days. Your application will be treated as submitted on 31st of March 2021. Your application will be treated as submitted on which date, sir? 31st of March 2021. If you are not doing Aadhaar authentications, they will take it 15 days. 15 days time limit. After 15 days, whatever time is coming, that particular date will be taken by them. Just a second, 15 days or 21 days. Yeah, sorry. Not 15 days, sorry, 21 days. From this date, from the date when you have submitted your application, from that date they will calculate how many days, sir? 21 days. Before it was 15 days, now we have increased it to 21 days. It will, they'll take what, sir? 21 days. So on that date, the application is deemed as submitted. And from that date, from whatever date it is coming, say it comes to 21 days means, sir, it comes to plus 6th of April. So this application will be treated as submitted on 6th of April, and this procedure of approving, rejecting within 3 working days, etc. is required to be counted from 6th of April, not from the date when you have submitted the application, but from the date of submitted plus 21 days you should add, then this particular procedure will be followed. And one more thing, one is what? Application will be deemed to be submitted after 21 days, and second thing is what, sir? Second thing is they will give you registration after physical verification. The officer will come and physically verify your premises, and only after doing that physical verification the registration will be granted to you. So these are the this is the major amendment which has happened in registration topic. Procedurally it is very important. Meaning if you are taking a registration, now you cannot tell your client that, sir, government will give registration within 7 days or 10 days, sir. No. Now it will depend upon the Aadhaar authentication. Once Aadhaar authentication is done properly, then they will get the registration within the time limit, or if not, then the time limit will be extended. Now almost 30 days it may take if Aadhaar authentication is not done for getting the registration. So I'll read the procedure for you. So procedure for registration, section 25 talks about it. Now there are two stages in procedure, stage number 1 and stage number 2. Stage number 1 is where I, being a registered person, has to follow. Stage number 2, whatever proper officer has to do. Step 1, what will I do? Person liable for registration or those who want to apply for voluntary registration shall make an application in GST REG 01. He shall file part A of GST REG 01 giving his PAN number, mobile details, email ID and state, etc. On submission of the above details, that is step 2 details, PAN validation will happen with income tax authorities and an OTP will be sent on mobile number and email ID. Mobile number and email ID, OTP will be sent. Once you enter those OTP, what will be given to you? Something called as temporary reference number shall be generated and communicated to the applicant on the mobile number and email ID. They will send this particular temporary reference number. Using this TRN, I am required to electronically submit this part B of GST REG 01. Electronically submit this part B of GST REG 01. Now, along with it, what they are telling, whenever you are submitting this particular application, which application? Part B, applicant shall also undergo Aadhaar authentication for grant of registration. Along with this, you are also required to do something called as Aadhaar authentication. Once that Aadhaar authentication is done and once you submit the application, on receipt of such application, an acknowledgement will be sent. ARN will be given to you. Acknowledgement will be sent in the prescribed form, etc. Now, what does Part B consist of, sir? Part B contains the details. Contains details such as constitution of business, whether it is a partnership firm, sole proprietorship concern, then jurisdiction office, etc. Whether you are opting for combination scheme or not, date of commencement of business, reason for obtaining registration, address of principal place of business, nature of activities which you are going to undertaking, additional place of business, bank account details, authorized signatory details, and who are the owners, etc. Those details are required to be given in this part B of registration application. Now, once you do this Aadhaar authentication, only after that application will be forwarded to the proper officer. Only after that application will be forwarded to the proper officer. Sir, what if I don't do? Then 21 days plus physical verification. Now what will happen? Stage 2. Proper officers shall examine the application with accompanying documents. If the application is found to be in order, within 3 working days, he will grant the registration to you in GST. Registration certificate will be given in form GST REG 06. Note, if the applicant fails to undergo Aadhaar authentication, if he fails to undergo Aadhaar authentication, he does not opt for Aadhaar authentication, then what will happen? Then the registration shall be granted only after physical verification of the place of business of the premises. Only after physical verification I am going to give you the registration. Now, sir, what if the application is not in order? Whatever application I have submitted is not satisfied with that. Then he will give a notice to me in form GST REG 03. That notice also will be given within 3 working days. He can either approve or give notice within 3 working days. Then proper officer shall issue a notice within 3 working days from the date of seeking the clarification, thereby seeking clarification or information. Notice may be issued within 21 working days if no Aadhaar authentication is done. So if Aadhaar authentication is not done, this procedure which you are seeing, that application will be deemed to have been submitted on a future date, and 21 working days time he has to either approve or to send a notice to you. If the applicant files has furnished the clarification, he has to furnish the clarification in GST REG 04, and he gives that information within 7 working days. Then again officer's work will start. What officer work will start, sir? Officer has to do what? The proper officer has 7 working days. If he is satisfied, give the registration. If he is not satisfied, reject the application. Now there is also deemed registration or deemed approval. If the proper officer where Aadhaar authentication has been done within 3 working days he is not replying anything, then it will be deemed as registration. If Aadhaar authentication has not been done successfully within 7 working days he is not replying, then it will be deemed registration. Then if the proper officer issues any notice and after 7 working days of my reply the officer is not taking any action, then it will be deemed as registered. The grant of registration shall be deemed to have been approved. How this physical verification will happen? Rule number 25 has been notified for this purpose, where proper officer is satisfied that physical verification of a place of business of a person is required due to failure of Aadhaar authentication or due to not opting for Aadhaar authentication before the grant of registration, or due to any other reason for after grant of registration, he may get such verification of place of business in the presence of the said person. In the presence of the applicant, he will do the physical verification of that particular premises. The verification report along with the documents including the photograph shall be uploaded in the prescribed form on the common portal within 15 working days from the date of such verification. The officer who is coming for physical verification, he has to take the proof, he has to take photos of the person, the business name, etc. He has to take the photos and he has to upload these details on the GST portal. Now what will be treated as the date of submission of your registration application? 2 arrow marks. Aadhaar authentication, applicant undergoes Aadhaar authentication, applicant does not undergo Aadhaar authentication, or he has not assigned Aadhaar authentication. He is taking a new registration. If I am applying for new registration, the date of submission of registration application shall be the date on which Aadhaar authentication has been done, or 15 days from the date of submission, for 15 days from the date of submission of the application, whichever is earlier. Then if person has been already registered, I am already registered under GST, I was registered when GST started, Aadhaar authentication came now sir. In such cases where every registered person, in such cases they will prescribe that you are also required to do Aadhaar authentication within that particular time. Nothing has been prescribed as of now, so you can ignore it. Every registered person shall undergo authentication or furnish the proof of possession of Aadhaar in the prescribed form and manner within the prescribed time. Within the prescribed time, in the prescribed form, they are required to give that particular details. Then if your Aadhaar has not been assigned to you or you are not opting for Aadhaar, then in such cases new registration shall be granted only after what sir? Physical verification of principal place of business. And if you are already registered person, then alternative means will be taken care. He shall follow alternative and viable means for identification. In case of failure to do Aadhaar authentication or furnish the proof of possession of Aadhaar, or furnish of alternative and viable means. If I am not able to do Aadhaar authentication, if I am not able to follow the alternative means also which they have given, in such cases the registration which has been already allotted to you will deem to be invalid. That registration shall be deemed to be invalid. This is only for those persons who are already issued the registration certificate. So this is the amendment which has happened in registration chapter. What is the amendment sir? Aadhaar authentication is required to be done if you want the registration. If no Aadhaar authentication is done, then physical verification will happen if you want the registration. Please note, there was an amendment with regard to this point previously also. Further one amendment they have made. Aadhaar authentication with regard to Aadhaar for November also they had this particular point. My previous amendment video you will find it. But now they have added one more point, the time limit, the etc. They have added, they are reduced, extended, etc. Next, tax invoice, debit note and credit note. There is some point also, some not major changes, minor changes only. Major changes was one with regard to Aadhaar authentication, second with regard to director, very important, director, and one more is payment of taxes. These are the major changes. Now what is this? Manner of issuing invoice, proviso has been inserted. They have inserted this new proviso. There was something called as rule number 48 sub rule 4. To this rule number 48 sub rule 4, one more proviso has been added, as simple as that. One proviso has been added. Proviso has been added giving the powers to the commissioner to exempt class of person from e-invoicing. Now something called as e-invoicing provisions were there. E-invoicing provisions are there, wherein if your turnover is more than 500 crore in any of the previous years starting from 17-18, starting from 2017 to 17-18, the day from GST has started, then you are required to do e-invoicing from 1st of October. Then from if you, I mean, other amendments are applicable for your next exam. Let me not talk about it. Okay, so if your turnover is more than 500 crores, anytime during July 2017, from that date, that is financial year 17-18 till today, anytime your turnover is more than 500 crores, you are required to do e-invoicing. From 1st of October, you are required to do e-invoicing, etc. That provisions were there. Now, the commissioner, this was a provision. Now, there are few people whom the commissioner can exempt. The commissioner can tell, okay, Mr. Dilip, you don't have to do e-invoicing. The commissioner has the power to exempt. There are some persons whom they have exempted. How they have exempted? Because the power is given as per this particular rule. This rule is giving the second proviso, the proviso to rule number 48 sub rule 4 is giving the power to the commissioner to exempt some categories of person from e-invoicing. What was the provision telling first? The invoice shall be prepared by such class of registered person as may be notified by the government on the recommendation of council by including the particulars contained in form Gst INV01 after obtaining invoice reference number by uploading the information contained therein on the GST common portal in the manner and such conditions and restrictions as may be prescribed. That is, they are talking about e-invoicing. Whatever invoice you are generating, whatever invoice you are preparing, for that invoice you will also have to give a document. You will also have to take a reference number from the government, invoice reference number, by uploading the details of the invoices on the invoice registration portal. Now, they have added this proviso. What is this proviso telling? The proviso is telling, provided that the commissioner may, on the recommendations of council, by notification, exempt a person or class of registered person from issuance of the invoice under this particular sub-rule for a specified period subject to the conditions and restrictions as may be specified. Now, conclusion. E-invoicing provision is applicable to whom? E-invoicing shall be applicable to a registered person whose aggregate turnover in any preceding financial year from 17-18 onwards, any time after that particular date or from that particular date, any time if your turnover was exceeding 500 crores, exceeds 500 crores, e-invoicing provision is applicable to you. However, following persons are exempt from e-invoicing. These people are not required to follow the provisions of e-invoicing. Who are these, sir? SCZ unit. Please understand this point carefully. They are talking about SCZ unit and not SCZ developer. So if you are an SCZ unit, then e-invoicing provision shall not apply to you. If you are an SCZ developer, 100% it is applicable to you, provided you satisfy that 500 crores criteria. Then if you are an insurance company, insurer, or a banking company, financial institution, NBFC, you don't have to follow e-invoicing. Then if you are a person who is involved in the GTA, goods transport agency supplying services by way of transportation of goods by road, then a person who is involved in the business of transportation of passenger, any person supplier of services by way of admission to an exhibition of cinematography film in multiplexes, that is theaters, etc., multiplexes, theaters, etc. So these people are exempted from e-invoicing. They are not required to do invoicing. For example, you are going to watch a movie. The ticket they are giving, once they give ticket, they will tell, wait sir, see, movie is starting at 2:30, you have reached the theater at 2 o'clock, or you have reached the theater at 2:15, the person is telling, wait sir, I need to register this invoice in e-invoicing portal. By the time he registered, half of the movie will be gone. Half of the movie will be gone. So they are telling, I want your enjoyment to be proper. I want your enjoyment to be proper. Who is telling? Government is telling, you should enjoy the movie from the beginning. From that national anthem, you should enjoy that movie. So please don't follow e-invoicing. Whom are they telling? They are telling it to multiplexes. Then transportation of passengers, sir. Now SRS Travels, Indigo Airlines, etc. They are all, obviously their turnover will be more than 500 crores only. These people's turnover will be more than 500 crores. Now, for whatever invoice that they are giving you, many people will book the tickets, then they will cancel the ticket, book the ticket, cancel the ticket, book the ticket, cancel the tickets, etc. If they start generating e-invoicing for each and every person, if they start giving e-invoicing, their complaints work will be too much. They are telling, okay, for you, I don't want you to follow. Similarly, banking company, insurance companies, etc., they are not required to follow. And please note, SCZ develop unit is not required to follow, but SCZ developer has to follow invoicing provision. That is an important point. Now, so this is all about the payment of taxes. Some tax invoice, debit note, credit note. Some changes were made during previous attempt also, which you can definitely refer in your previous video. So these are the changes which are exclusively made for this attempt only. What is the next change, sir? Payment of tax. Payment of tax, beautiful and important change which has been made. There was a huge dispute. There was Chennai High Court decision, Gujarat High Court decision. All these decisions were contradicting each other. So government only told, okay, you don't pass any decision. I will only tell you what to follow. Now, there is something called as Section 50. Under Section 50, Section 50 is telling if you are not filing your return within the due date, you are required to pay the taxes at 18%. You are required to pay the taxes at 18%. Not taxes at 18%, sorry. You are required to pay interest on that particular tax. If you are not filing the return within the due date, you are required to pay me the taxes. You are required to pay me interest, sorry. You are required to pay me interest. That interest is required to be calculated at 18%. Now, the question was, sir, my output tax liability is 1 lakh. I have an input tax credit of rupees 80,000. Now, amount which I am going to pay in cash is only 20,000. This amount I have to pay in cash because I am utilizing my input tax credit. The question was whether I should pay, oh sir, whether I should pay the interest on 1 lakh rupees or 20,000 rupees. This was a huge dispute. Huge amount of disputes arise. Department was telling please pay on 1 lakh. The client was telling why should I pay on 1 lakh when I already have credit balance? I will pay only on 20,000. There was a huge dispute and judgments also came in the favor of assessee on the taxpayer. Now government has told okay, wait, don't dispute, etc. Now the government has told by inserting a proviso. They have inserted a proviso to this particular. Sorry, they have inserted a proviso to Section 50. What is this proviso telling, sir? This proviso is telling that this particular interest which you are paying, it should be on the net liability which is paid by you using electronic cash ledger. Please understand this carefully. They are not telling what you are paying through cash. They are telling whatever you are liable to pay through electronic cash ledger, that amount. Whatever you are liable to pay through electronic cash ledger, that amount, on that amount I will collect the interest. Only on that amount which you are paying in cash, I will collect interest. Only on that amount which you are paying in cash, whatever amount you are paying in cash. Sometimes there are some cases wherein you may have ITC, but you cannot use that ITC. You will have to pay in cash. So in that case, whatever amount you are paying in cash, on that amount you are required to pay interest also. I'll read it for you, then we'll see a beautiful problem. Every person who is liable to pay tax in accordance with the provisions of this act and the rules made thereunder, but fails to pay the taxes or any part thereof, the government shall within the periods prescribed shall for the period from which the tax or part thereof remains unpaid, charge interest at not exceeding 18%, normally it is 18%, as may be notified by the government on the recommendation of council. Now, this interest provision, see, they have added a proviso. The proviso is telling, provided that the interest on tax payable in respect of supply made during a tax period and declared in the return for the said tax period furnished after the due date in accordance with the provisions of Section 39. 39 talks about normal returns 3B, Gst 4, etc. Except where such return is furnished after the commencement of proceedings under Section 73 or Section 74 for the said period, shall be levied on that portion. Very important. It shall be levied on which portion? That portion of tax which has been paid by debiting in electronic cash ledger. Whatever amount of tax you are paying by debiting in electronic cash ledger, that on that amount only I am going to charge. And also there is one point over here. That point is also, you should be careful of that point. If you are filing the return by your own will and wish, okay. But if you are filing the return because a notice has been issued to you under Section 73 and 74, then this particular provision shall not apply to you. Meaning what? Whenever a question on this particular point is asked in the examination, you should see whether the taxpayer is filing the return voluntarily. He is filing a delayed return, but is that return filed by him voluntarily? Yes, sir. Then interest on cash component only. But he is filing the return, if that person is filing the return because a notice has been issued under section 73 or 74, because a notice has been issued to him under section 73 or 74, in such cases the interest which is required to be paid by him will be on full liability. We will do a problem. I'll make you understand this point also. Now, so what is the crux is there? In case of delayed filing of returns, interest on tax payable shall be levied on that portion of tax that is paid by debiting the electronic cash ledger on the net tax liability paid in cash, on the net tax liability which is paid by you in cash. However, where such return is furnished after commencement of proceedings under 73 and 74, then the tax will be paid on the gross liability only. So these three cases have been different scenarios I have given. Very beautiful problem. If you understand this problem, then you have understood this particular concept. I mean, if you do this problem, not understand, obviously you'll understand this problem. Once you understand this problem, the concept will be very clear in your mind now. There is a company called as Sorry Limited. Sorry Limited has belatedly filed its GST return under section 39. Normally we'll assume it to be GSTR 3B. For the month of February 2021, after 45 days from the due date of such return. From the below information, compute the amount of interest to be paid by Sorry Limited under section 50 in each of independent cases. There are three different cases given: case number 1, case number 2 and case number 3. In each of these cases, what is the interest payable by this Sorry Limited you are required to file. Now, for the month of February 21, what is the due date to make the payment of taxes? Sir, it is 20th of March 2021. He was supposed to file it by 20th of March. He is supposed to make the payment of taxes by 20th of March, but he has paid the taxes after 45 days. He has filed the returns. It is not that he has not filed the returns. He has filed the returns, and the provision is nowhere telling, the question is nowhere telling that the return was filed because of any notice. So normal provisions I'll apply. So he has filed this return after 45 days. Now for this 45 days, he will have to pay interest. On what amount he has to pay interest? Interest on the liability, tax liability paid in cash. Interest on the tax liability which is paid by him in cash. Now we'll understand case number 1. Each and every individual case we'll see separately. Please understand these points carefully. Now case number 1, my output tax liability, I'll use a blue color pen. Case number 1, not blue color sir, pink color I'll use. Case number 1, my output tax liability is how much? 1,50,000. Is there any amount which I have to pay under reverse charge? No sir, there is zero amount which I have to pay under reverse charge, and I have input tax credit which is available. I have input tax of 2 lakh rupees. 2 lakh input I have to pay only 1.5 lakhs. Is there anything which I have to pay in cash? No. Is there anything which I have to pay in cash? Tax paid through electronic cash ledger? 0. Nil. Therefore, 45 days delay I have done, but still no interest is payable. Please note, we are talking only about interest under section 50. Sir, you are filing the return late. No sir. You are filing the return after 45 days. No sir. Sir, that late fee will be leviable sir. Yes, late fee is leviable. Late fee is leviable. But we are talking only about interest. Interest is not leviable. Second case, what is my output tax liability sir? 2,30,000. There is some amount which I have to pay under reverse charge mechanism. There is input tax credit also. Input tax credit is also there. Now, this is the beauty. This is that beauty. If you see my total liability, is how much? 2.5 lakhs. I have input tax credit of 3 lakhs. That means I have excess input tax credit of 50,000. I have excess input tax credit of 50,000. But here the beauty is. Now, whenever you are required to make a payment of tax under reverse charge, whenever you are required to make a payment of tax as a recipient under reverse charge mechanism, that tax is required to be paid by you. This tax which is there, which you are liable to pay under reverse charge, is compulsory required to be paid by you in cash only. Though you have a credit of 3 lakh rupees and your liability is only 2.5 lakh rupees, they are telling because you have 20,000 rupees which is payable by you, because this 20,000 rupees which you are seeing, no, that is a tax which you are required to pay as a recipient under reverse charge. This tax is required to be paid always in what, sir? Cash only. It is required to be paid in cash only. Now I am making a 45 days delay, and by using my electronic cash ledger I am paying how much rupees? 20,000. On this 20,000 you will have to compulsorily, on this 20,000 you will have to compulsorily pay what? Taxes. You will interest. You will have to pay interest. So please note, though you have excess input tax credit, so on what amount should I pay interest? Third, what is the amount which you have paid through electronic cash ledger, sir? I paid 20,000 rupees through electronic cash ledger. So if I ask you what is the interest amount, what will you tell? Sir, interest is equal to 20,000 rupees into 18% into 45 days. In this year we have 365 days. So what is the interest amount? Sir, 20,000 into 18% into 45 divided by 365. Sir, interest which is required to be paid by you is 443.83 rupees. This is the amount of interest which is required to be paid by you. How much, sir? 443.83 rupees. 443.83 rupees. Please understand this. Students may make a mistake in second case. Student may make a mistake in second case. Second case, why, sir? Sir, I have excess input tax credit. No, sir. Why will I pay anything in cash, sir? Please note, RCM liability compulsory you are required to make a payment of taxes in cash only. RCM liability compulsory you should make a payment in cash only. Then, third case, my output liability, my output tax is 4,50,000 and tax which is liable to be paid by me under reverse charge is 20,000. So total amount which I am liable to pay is 4,70,000. I have input tax credit of only 1,50,000. So if I subtract, what is the amount which I have to pay in cash? 3,20,000. What is the amount which I have paid, which I have to pay in cash, sir? 3,20,000 is the amount which I have to pay in cash. Now, what is the interest amount, sir? Interest is very simple, sir. Sir, interest calculation you let us do, sir. Yes, you only do. What is the interest? Tell me, sir. Interest, sir. See, sir. Interest is equal to 3,20,000 into 18% into 45 divided by 365 into 45 divided by 365. So what is the amount? Sir, 3,20,000 into 18% into 45 divided by 365. Sir, here you have to pay interest of 7,101.37 rupees. 7,101.37 rupees. Very important question. Very important question. Now, interest is required to be paid on what, sir? Interest is required to be paid on the net liability which you are paying in cash. In case of RCM, amounts are required to be paid by me in cash only. Now, one more point I will tell you. If they are asking you a question on composition dealer is also required to make the payment of taxes. He is required to make the payment of taxes on quarterly basis, correct? A composition dealer, can he take input tax credit? No, sir. If a composition dealer cannot take input tax credit, that means whatever amount of tax is paying, that tax is required to be paid by him in cash only. Yes, sir. So on that full amount he has to pay interest. On that full amount he has to pay interest. Now, what if they change this question? Now, one more point I am adding in this question. Say in case number 1 only I'll ask you. In case number 1, tell me what will be your answer? Or I'll write it as, will your answer change? The question is, will your answer change if in case 1 the tax is paid, or in case 1 not tax, I'll use the word return so that you should get little confused. In case the return is furnished after a notice under section 73. Now what is it telling? See, in case number 1, normally because nothing is required to be paid by me in cash, there is no interest charge, correct? Now they are telling, what if in this particular case you have excess input tax credit? I agree. What if in this particular case you are filing the return because a notice has been given to you under section 73 or 74? Now will your answer be same? Will you still tell that I have to not pay any interest, sir? Answer is no. Now in this case, if they have given a notice to you, under section 73 or 74, and because of this particular notice you are filing your returns, in such case interest is required to be paid by you. And interest is paid on what amount, sir? Full amount of output tax liability. Output tax liability is 1.5 lakhs into 18% into, say, assuming that we'll take 45 days only here also, assuming the notice has been given to me, after 45 days the notice has been received, so we'll take the same 45 days over here. But in examination, see the question carefully and see how many days they have given. 18% into 45 divided by 365. So here I have to pay interest of 3328.77. 3,328.77 rupees is the interest which is required to be paid by me. Very important video. I mean very important amendment which has been made, both from your practice point of view and from exam point of view. Examination point of view, I will not be surprised if a question is been asked on this particular topic. Please be very careful. I'll do one thing. I'll cut this particular video and upload it separately also in a later period of time, so that you can revise. Only this specific payment of taxes I'll upload separately. Okay. Then some changes have been made in returns chapter, not a huge changes, etc. Now they are telling, if you are required to file a nil return, in case you are a person who is not made any supply, who has no input tax credit, nil return means you have no ITC or no outward supply. You have not made any outward supply, or you don't have any input tax credit to be taken for a particular month. Then you can file your returns. You can file your returns the way you send a message to your girlfriend or boyfriend. I am not telling, government is telling, just send me SMS. Hey government, I don't have any return, I have not made any supply this month. I don't have any input tax return. Just send this message. That means a return will be filed. A nil return will be filed. So in case you are required to file a nil return, they have started a new facility, which is facility of filing a nil return. Nil return means what? Nil return, they are telling, nil return is something wherein you don't have any input tax credit also, and there is no output tax liability also, or no outward supply also. I should not have made any sales or any purchases. For example, for April 2020, no one would have made any sales. Supplier of goods, supplier of services, maybe they would have made, but for April 2020, because there was a complete lockdown for entire month, no one would have made a sale. That month return a person can file by sending an SMS to the government. That is what they have told. Rule number 67A, manner of furnishing returns or details of outward supply by short message service facility, SMS facility. What is this point telling? Notwithstanding to anything contained in this chapter, a registered person who is required to furnish a nil return under section 39, that is form GSTR 3B, or a nil GSTR 1, or a statement under GST CMP 08, that is a composition dealer, whatever quarterly return he has to file for a particular tax period, any reference of electronic furnishing shall include. Now, normally provision says you are required to do it electronically. So that reference to electronic furnishing shall include the said returns or details of a statement which are submitted through short message service, SMS, using registered mobile number. Which mobile number? Registered mobile number you should send in SMS. The said return or the details of outward supply or the statement shall be verified by the registered number based on OTP facility. You can send a message, that will be, and they'll send an OTP and it will be verified. Explanation: for the purpose of this rule, nil return or nil details of outward supply or nil statement shall mean a return under section 39 or details of outward supply under section 37 or a statement under section 62 for a tax period which has nil or no entry in all the tables of GSTR 3B or GSTR 1 or GST CMP 08. Meaning you should neither have sales, 0 rupees sales, 0 repeat input tax credit. In that cases only my tables will be 0. My tables will be 0. Then that return can be filed by you by using this particular scheme. Then there is something called Accounts and Records chapter. There is something called as section 35 subsection 5, which talks about what, sir? GST audit. It says an audit is required to be conducted by a cost accountant or a chartered accountant. A chartered accountant or a cost accountant is required to do GST audit. When should he do GST audit, sir? If the aggregate turnover of the registered person is exceeding 2 crore rupees. It is exceeding 2 crore rupees. Now they have told for the financial year 18, 19 and 19, 20. For which year? For the financial year 18, 19 and 19, 20, this limit is increased to from 2 crores to 5 crores. This limit has been increased from 2 crores to 5 crores. So an audit of a company will be required to be done for the financial year 18, 19 and 19, 20 only if the aggregate turnover of that particular company is exceeding, that particular company in the sense that a particular registered person or taxpayer is exceeding 5 crore rupees. So every registered person other than casual taxable person, non-resident taxable person, input service distributor, TDS deductor and a TDS collector must get his books of accounts audited by a chartered accountant or a cost accountant if his aggregate turnover exceeds 2 crore rupees. This limit, however, for the financial year 19-20 and 18-19, the threshold limit has been increased from 2 crores to 5 crores. That is the only point. And it shall furnish along with audited annual account GSTR 9C, that is reconciliation statement, etc. That is what is the amendment which is made in this particular chapter. Now next is demand and recovery chapter. Again, not a major amendment I will tell, just one word has been changed. There was a word called as shall, they have now made it to may. Shall has become may. Shall has not become November, it has become May. See, normally what this particular section 73-74 section was telling, before you send a show cause notice to me, before a show cause notice is sent by the officer, that officer was supposed to send me something called as a communication he was required to make. Before sending the notice to me under 73 and 74, he is required to give a communication letter that, hey Mr. Dilip, you have done some fraud. Under section 73, I am going to give a notice. You have done some fraud, I will give a notice under 74. You have not done a fraud, but you have done some mistake, I will give a notice under section 73 or any summary under section 73, 76, etc. In such cases, before sending that show cause notice, before giving this show cause notice, he wanted to communicate it to me before sending that show cause notice. Normally, the time limit of giving show cause notice is what? Say for 73 cases, it is 2 years, 9 months. And for 74, it is 4 years, 6 months. Within this particular time, show cause notice is required to be issued. Now, what officer used to do is, officer were never giving this communication letter. Straight away, they were giving the show cause notice. Officer was not following the procedure properly. What is the procedure telling? Procedure is telling first you send a communication, then after sending that communication, send a show cause notice. Now officers were directly straight away sending the notice without reading the provision. They were straight away sending the notice. Now because of which, what these people, which people, sir? All the persons, registered persons who got this type of notice, they were enjoying aram se. Why, sir, they were enjoying, sir? They were enjoying because officer has done a mistake. He has not followed the law properly. Officer has not followed the law properly. If the officer is not following the law properly, meaning the law is telling you should first send a communication letter and then only you can send a show cause notice. You have not sent a communication letter, you are directly sending a show cause notice. You are not following the law properly. Because you are not following the law properly, whatever show cause notice is given by you is not valid. It is not valid. People Officer, obviously if you tell it is not valid, will officer listen to you? No. So officer said no, we are doing properly, etc. So they went for appeals. High court, many high courts told that yes, officer has not followed the law properly, so whatever notice has been given by officer is invalid. Whatever notice has been given by officer is invalid. So that is what this particular point is also telling. Rule number 142, notice or order. So what is this point telling? Now it is not compulsory for an officer to issue this letter. He may or he may not issue this letter. He may or he may not issue that letter. So the proper officer shall serve along with a notice under section 73(1), 74(1) or section 73 subsection 2 a summary electronically in form DRC01. In form DRC01, he should submit a statement under section or a statement under 73-74, a summary electronically through form DRC03. He is required to give that particular letter, communicate that letter, specifying therein the amount which is liable to be paid by the registered person. Now what they have told, the officer shall, before servicing that notice, see, the officer can give the notice to you, but however, the officer shall, before servicing that notice chargeable as the case may be, he shall communicate the details of the tax in part A of DRC01A, meaning he should, before giving any notice, he is required to give this communication letter. Now this word which was shall was there, now they have made this word may. The officer may, before servicing a notice to a person chargeable to tax, interest, penalty under 73-74 as the case may be, he may communicate the details of any tax, interest, penalty ascertained in part A of form Gst DRC01A. He may or he may not. So therefore this communication is now not mandatory. Before it was mandatory, now it is no more mandatory. Now this completes our amendments. Only 8 pages amendments I have taken. I mean actually major amendment. Other amendments are all procedural amendments which I felt from exam perspective not important. Now there is one more point with regard to refunds. I'll tell you. If you would have watched my crash course, then it is already covered, but anyways, with regard to refunds, one amendment is there. Now if a person is applying for refund under refund chapter, if you are applying for a refund, normally there are different types of taxes: CGST, SGST, IGST, correct? So these are the different types of taxes. For example, I am applying for a refund and I am eligible for a refund of 1 lakh rupees. I am eligible for a refund of 1 lakh rupees. I have in my different accounts, different balances are there. In my IGST, I have 75,000 rupees. In CGST, I have 60,000 rupees. And in my SGST, see which accounts are electronic credit ledger. I am talking about refund is taken of whatever is lying in my electronic credit ledger. So this refund is only for unutilized balance available in electronic credit ledger. So 75,000 rupees, 60,000 rupees, and CGST also I have 60,000 rupees. Now for this particular month for which I am applying refund, I am eligible for a refund of 1 lakh rupees. Now the question is, which amount of refund should I take? I should make an application. Whenever I am making an application, I should mention over there whether the refund should be of 75,000 or whether the refund should be of CGST account or SGST account or IGST account. I am required to mention over there. In that application, I am required to fill that particular details. Now, they have given a clarification telling that if you are eligible for 1 lakh rupees and if you have balance in CGST, SGST and IGST, in such cases, refund shall be given in the following manner. Which manner? In the same manner in which you are taking input tax credit. Meaning, out of this 1 lakh rupees, whatever 1 lakh rupees you are going to get, that 1 lakh rupees shall first be given from 75,000. Meaning from IGST account 75,000 will be given, then the balance amount will be given from CGST account. Then only I will go to SGST. Meaning just the way you are doing, utilizing the input tax credit for making the payment of taxes, in the same manner refund also will be given to you. If you are having some balance in IGST account, in such cases you cannot ask for refund in CGST and SGST account. If you have some amount left over in IGST account, you cannot ask for refund of CGST or SGST account. Sir, what if this amount was 2 lakh rupees? If this amount was 2 lakh rupees, take this 75,000 completely, then take this 60,000 completely. Now what is left over? 75,000 plus 60,000. minus 2 lakh. 65,000 is left over. Oh, 2 lakhs is too much, sir. 2 lakhs is too much. I'll make it 1,90,000. Now here take the 60,000. From here I will be able to take 55,000. So third preference will be given to SGST. So this is one amendment which is there in refunds topic. This is one amendment which is there in refund topics. This completes our amendment which is applicable for your examination. This examination which you are going to write in May or June 2021. All the very best for your examination. Very soon I will be uploading other videos also. Sanjeevani Booty, not very soon, I will upload my Sanjeevani Booty, that is super fast revision during first week of May. First week of May 2021, I will be uploading Sanjeevani Beauty, wherein in 3 to 4 hours will complete entire revision of GST and customs. 3 to 4 hours complete revision of GST and customs will be done. All the very best for your examination. I hope you are enjoying these videos and also the crash course videos. Do share me your feedbacks. Until our next video, tada, bye bye, enjoy. Let us meet in the next video. Bye.